Most recently, request for the payroll has been asked for on 2 occasions via email and no answer. So as it stands right now, we've gone a month and a half. The last payroll that I've seen was September 1st. And we want to make sure we have this information before the next board meeting to be able to vote on.
Hey everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we're diving into the latest action taken by the board to push things forward, especially in light of Tiffany Henyard's administration failing to provide crucial information about payroll. Yes, payroll. Let's hear from Trustee Jason House, who explains exactly why they had to put this new rule or ordinance in place to fix the ongoing issue of missing payroll data.
Next on the agenda is discussion and possible action regarding ordinance number 21 amending ordinance 1-6-4 powers and duties. Trustee House.
Thank you very much. This ordinance was put up here authorizing the finance department or department heads to have conversations or to speak with the board members regarding issues or questions that they may have. I will say I put this up here specifically because there are a couple of times that I made phone calls in to department heads and they were instructed that the administration or mayor or administration would not allow for that. So I'm asking that we move this forward so that way the department heads have the access to make sure that they speak with the board members to get the information we're looking for.
It's crystal clear that Jason is explaining why they're pushing for this ordinance. They believe Tiffany's staff isn't supplying the necessary payroll information. Now, let's hear what Tiffany has to say in response to all of this.
Well, I hate to hear that because I never instructed anybody not to give you any payroll reports. Why would I do that? So, Chris, you're on here.
Here's where she shifts the responsibility. Chris is the finance guy, so now she's going to pass the buck to him to explain what's going on, even though she should already know. But of course, she's going to act like she's in the dark. Let's go ahead and hear from Chris.
Chris, you're on here, Chris. So we're going to get it cleared up right now. And this is what I state to you guys all the time. If y'all have an issue or something's not being done, or maybe got just dropped at the wayside for whatever reason, you guys can...
All right, you guys. I thought Chris was going to speak. But then again, I have to remind myself who we're dealing with. Tiffany is always going to slip in some extra words. She has to put up her smoke and mirrors, throwing in a bit of deflection before letting anyone else speak. At this point, she actually talked so much, defending herself and blaming the trustees for not reaching out enough, that she completely forgot she was supposed to let Chris address the issue. Or maybe it wasn't a mistake. Did she do it on purpose? Was she hoping they'd forget that Chris was supposed to explain the situation? Let's go ahead and watch.
Always gotten the information, so why would I not give it to you guys now? So that's the direction. Any other questions or concerns?
I thought Chris was going to elaborate on that because I want to make sure that I'm completely understanding because I'm here, which is also why I prefer the email. So that way there is a documented communication. I'm not here to lie on anybody else, not only the mayor, Chris, anybody. The first couple of times that I had these concerns, I spoke about them privately, but I mean, trying to email it was documented, and I would love for Chris to kind of tell me, am I crazy when we spoke or what?
Okay, so Chris told you that I said you can have it. Is that what you're stating now, or what are you stating?
Yes.
I didn't get the question.
Yes.
Okay, Chris, come on.
Okay, so last time we spoke about this, it was my understanding that the board to run these through you, these payroll reports that basically are the earnings from each payroll and the differences between last payroll and current payroll, and the subsequent report that's attached to that of any new changes in payroll. So any new hires, any changes in salaries, any of those types of items. Last we spoke, I was to run those through you.
Okay. So Chris, that's not true as it relates to run through me.
Oh my goodness. Now she's throwing Chris under the bus. Of course, anyone who says something that doesn't align with her narrative is the one lying. She's pulling out her classic line. That's not true. But really, why would Chris just sit there and completely fabricate a conversation or communication they had about the payroll needing her approval? It doesn't make sense for someone to just make that up, right? But it does sound like something Tiffany Henyard would do, in my honest opinion. She constantly contradicts herself, and as we see here, She has no problem throwing anyone, even her own administration, under the bus. Let's keep watching.
Like I tell anybody, when anybody come in and ask for certain items, y'all know my phone number, call me and let me know. That's what I've told anybody that works here for me. So what I'm saying to you with a payroll report, why would I need you to give me the payroll report for the staff? Why would I need that? I don't need that. I got the same information that you're giving to the board. Why would I have to give you the okay to say, give them the payroll report or give them the warrant list? All those items, I've always told you to give it to them. Even when you told me that Jason came in and asked for it, I told you to what? Give it to him. So let's get it clear for the record since we're talking about it. So I don't have to lie about anything like that. That's why I'm saying it verbally out of my mouth to the board and you, Chris. Give them whatever they want or need so that no one's going behind my back saying that I said something that I did not say. Because what am I going to do with a payroll report? What would be the reason for me keeping the payroll report?
I think anyone with half a brain can figure out why she might want to keep the payroll report from the trustees. She doesn't want them seeing who's on it, or if there were any raises given without their approval. There could be a number of reasons, but the real question here is, why is she basically calling Chris a liar? Chris simply said, "Hey, you told me to run it by you." And she immediately turned around and blatantly called him out as a liar. Oh, and let's not forget, she says, "For the record," like that automatically makes everything she says the absolute truth, right? Of course, Chris doesn't have much of a backbone here. He's just going along with the current administration, just like he did under the previous mayor, Riley Rogers. He's likely just doing what he has to do to keep his job. Let's go ahead and listen.
Chairperson of finance. So all the lies need to stop. That's why I keep saying to the board of trustees, call my phone. That's why I say that all the time, because people will lie. People will say anything to save themselves. So just call me. That's it. And we can clear it up. So now it is clear. Clerk Key, can you please call the roll?
Mayor, you recognize.
Yeah, go ahead. And just so y'all know, we got one more item.
As we can see, Tiffany stuck to her original position, claiming that Chris was lying and those were not her instructions to him. Now, let's hear from Trustee Kiana Beller, who is essentially echoing what Jason House had previously stated. Let's listen in. I'm so glad you just stated that publicly because I've actually even put in a FOIA and haven't received anything as an elected official, and I also myself and Trustee Norwood have been on the phone with Chris, and we were directed that we had to speak to the mayor. So, for you to say that you haven't said it, I applaud you for stating this publicly because the conversations that we've had in trying to get items that we want to verify before we make informed decisions have not been provided to us. So, thank you for saying that, and hopefully the information that is being requested is provided to us, and provided to us in a timely manner, especially if it's something that we have to vote on. I feel like Trustee Kiana Baylor was giving the mayor some credit for speaking up publicly and holding Chris accountable. From what we can see, since Chris isn't defending himself, it does seem like he might have been lying, and Trustee Baylor seems to be acknowledging that. She's basically commending Tiffany for addressing it in public and setting the record straight. However, the mayor's response to this is really interesting. It felt like Baylor might have been trying to extend an olive branch, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. What do you all think? Do you feel there was an undertone I might have missed? Let's hear Tiffany's response. It's worth noting because myself and Trustee Beller experienced that Chris stated it had to be emailed, and I guess ran through you before it could come to us, and we still have not received items. Okay, so I know again nothing about that, and I just said it. I'll say it again for you. I just said it. Call my phone if you have a problem, Trustee Beller. So, obviously, it wasn't big enough of a problem for you to call the mayor to get it addressed. As it relates to FOIAs, I'm not over FOIAs, so let's get it clear when everybody keeps putting stuff out there, the mayor doesn't do FOIAs. I don't respond to FOIAs. That's the clerk's office. So, if it's something you didn't get, you need to contact her office to make sure you get that. As it relates to financials, I just stated that, and I'll say it again. Any financial Information that you guys want, you can receive. I'm not holding it up. It is for everyone. Even the community can basically FOIA financials here in the village and get the information. So that's why I'm saying to you again, publicly, I didn't say that. That's untrue as it relates to you guys getting information. I just told Chris to give y'all all the information that y'all need. So if there's something you need, make sure you get it from them. But I will say this and add this to it. You guys do not run day to day as it relates to going into people's departments or interrupting their work schedule. You guys have to stop doing that and make sure that you send them an email so they can oblige to whatever it is that some of you guys go and request from them. So just make sure we can keep that in line, and then it's fine. I have no issue. It looks like Tiffany is definitely on the defensive here, which is not a new position for her, but let's play devil's advocate for a second. If she is telling the truth, anyone would be upset if someone blatantly lied about something they supposedly said but didn't. That being said, I have a feeling that's not quite what really happened. Still, Chris isn't speaking up. He's staying completely silent about the situation, with Tiffany defending herself and putting people in their place, as she usually does. Let's now hear Trustee Kiana Baylor's response. I FOIA'd it because I wasn't able to get it. I'm a resident before an elected official, so that was the only reason. So, I understand that you're not over the clerk's office, but I just wanted to be clear on why I did that. I tried to obtain it as an elected official to make an informed decision and wasn't given the information. So that's the only reason that was done. So I just want to be very clear on that. Okay, but thank you so much. Right, but you just stated that you FOIA'd something and didn't get it. And what I'm saying to you is, you didn't get it. I got nothing to do with FOIAs or whatever information comes back from the FOIA office, which is the clerk. Oh my goodness, you guys, I really don't think Tiffany is actually listening, and I know some of you are probably thinking, well, duh, you're just realizing this now. But seriously, it becomes more obvious the more you watch these board meetings. You hear them go back and forth, and you're left wondering, did she even listen to what Kiana just said? Or was she just sitting there waiting for her turn to speak and defend herself? She always feels the need to make herself look good, right? Like she has to be seen in this perfect light. I mean, she even said she's a beacon of light for Dalton, and at one point, she even compared herself to Jesus. At the end of the day, they talked about Jesus Christ, so why don't I think y'all not going to do me the same way? Somebody that's healing y'all and helping y'all, same thing I'm over here doing, right? Healing and helping. She's always in campaign mode, and it's clear that nothing is going to come between her and her votes. Now, we have a few other trustees who want to share their thoughts on this situation. Let's go ahead and listen to what they have to say. Anyone else? Yes, Trustee Saint. All right, so make this very clear. Chris, you will give the payroll reports that we haven't received in about a month and a half that Trustee House said we'd get tomorrow. I have Zoom training in the morning for the new software, but by the afternoon, I do have a break in between. So, by the afternoon at the latest, you should have the last few payroll reports. Thank you. Wait, he said, pays in a month and a half. I think he just said y'all didn't get it over a week, right? Trustee House? Oh no, I have not gotten one since September 1st. The August 27th payroll is the last one, which is the entire month of September, as well as the early one in October. Okay, so you do know my number, right? You've got this situation. You were on the emails, I'm not. And I'll say this because there is a lot of back and forth. I included it via email, and not only yourself, Chris, and the administrator, but also attorneys because we get in here and then everything goes different. I wish it didn't, but it does. So I'd rather, as you mentioned, be intrusive on the employee's work. So I'm not trying to be difficult, and I really wasn't going to chime in again, but I will say all of this was done via email. So, again, I keep saying it, y'all call me if y'all got an issue. Go ahead, Trustee Norwood, and then we're going to call around. Now we hear Trustee House providing more context. He explained that he even emailed her about these issues, but once again, there was no response or communication from her side. The trustees haven't received the payroll information in months, while she claims to have thought it was just a few weeks. Of course, we're supposed to believe her, since it's for the record, right? Let's continue because Trustee Brittany Norwood also had something to add to this. Let's listen. I was just going to state that I'm glad that we're moving forward. Chris stated that he'll be able to assist us because there was a moment where I was quite frustrated while I was going over the war list, and I had a question. I did have Trustee Brer on the phone, and we called Chris, but we weren't provided with the information because we were told that, for whatever reason, we had to go through you to get the information instead. So, hopefully. Thankfully, he just stated moving forward we won't have any issues receiving payroll, and then he'll be able to answer our questions. So, thank you, Chris, and thank you, Mayor. No problem. Okay, can you call the roll to move forward to the next agenda? So they're basically voting on the ordinance Trustee House mentioned earlier, which is meant to enforce better communication between the administration and the trustees, ensuring they get the information they need and holding the administration accountable. They all voted yes, and it passed. The fact that they had to create this ordinance due to a lack of communication speaks volumes. This brings us up to the most recent board meeting in Thornton Township, where Tiffany Henyard is the supervisor. I'm going to play this clip for you all, and you'll see how these same behaviors continue. Even though it's not in Dalton, somehow Tiffany still finds a way to blame everyone else, even though she's the common denominator in both situations. Let's watch. Right, that's okay. Anybody why want pay pill? Why pay? Nobody why want to give a FCK the reason why we not pay bills tonight. So again, it was to put, organization and structure and responsible spending in play. And since those ordinances were not placed on the agenda, I don't feel comfortable supporting the spending. So once the ordinances are put in place and supported, I'll feel more comfortable if there's structure, organization, and a limit set, and is forced, not force, but just enforce, that there's responsible spending with the township fund. So, what's happening here is that the trustees are basically at a stalemate. They're refusing to vote on the bills because they wanted to put an ordinance on the agenda, but it wasn't included. We've seen this kind of behavior before in Dalton, where Tiffany just adds her own items to the agenda and ignores what the trustees or anyone else wants to include. That's not how it's supposed to work, since it's the Board of Trustees meeting, not the Supervisor Henyard or Mayor Henyard show. But as we can see, she's pulling the same shenanigans over in Thornton Township. And now the trustees there are starting to sound a lot like the Dalton trustees. Month my minutes are not placed on the agenda. Why my minutes are not being put on this agenda to be approved? I do not understand. The board doesn't get to put anything on the meeting agenda, and neither do I. The agenda was removed from my office so that the mayor could control the agenda there. Why has no one up here put anything on this agenda but her? But once again, the common denominator in both situations is, who else? Tiffany Henyard, right? Okay, you guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe.